Good evening. I would like to call the Thursday, October 24, 2024 Receivers Meeting with the public to order. Will we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will get started with our superintendent's report. Dr. Mead.
Thank you, Receiver Nichols. Good evening to everyone here in the audience and to everyone watching online. Thank you. Next slide. So we had our second community meeting yesterday to give updates on the state of the district. If you, on Tuesday. If you would like to take a look at this, because it was recorded, you can go to chesteruplandsd.org under the tab Our District, and then click on Community Meetings, and that information will be shared. Thank you. Next slide. We'd like to thank State Representatives Carol Kazim and Leanne Kruger for donating our new flags that you see across the district. So we greatly appreciate that and would like to thank them for their contribution. Next slide. Some updates for the district around the recovery plan. So the next steps for us is to begin working on our organizational scorecard, and that is to take the information, the action steps that are in that plan at the district and school level and put them into a scorecard where we can begin to provide details around the process, and that will be in the next e-newsletter that I put out. But this is an opportunity to show progress across the district and meeting those action items. Next slide. That is a temporary solution. The scorecards are typically internal, but our next step would be to develop a dashboard, which is a real-time dashboard to share with our internal and external stakeholders as well. A platform used to communicate the progress. Next slide. Our enrollment numbers are, as of today, 3,085 students, and you can see across the schools what those enrollment numbers look like in comparison to the week prior and in comparison to the end of the year, this past year, which was close to 2,900. Next slide. This also shows a comparison of our out-of-district placements and students who may be in a juvenile or incarcerated facility. Next slide. Our attendance numbers are improving. So our last reporting at the end of the year was around 79%, which was a 1% decrease from the year prior, but we are now at 84%, and we look to continue to grow. As I've shared previously, some of the key areas of focus around Chester High School and the Digital Academy, we still have work to do, but there is an increase there. And as you can see, our elementary schools around 91% and continuing to increase, but the district's overall average at 84%. Next slide. So there is some data that I'm going to share with you, but I wanted to make sure I share with the community, which has been shared previously by our academic team, and that is the difference between academic growth and academic achievement. Growth meaning progress that may be shown by a student from one point in time to another point in time, progress over time. Next slide. But achievement is around actually meeting a goal. How many students are meeting a particular goal? So even if you don't meet that target, that doesn't mean students aren't showing growth. So I want to make that clear before showing the next slides. So how do students in grades K to 8 start the school year district-wide? Next slide. So if you see on this chart here, this shows our K-8 schools with our iReady diagnostic. And what you see here is less than 20% of the students across the district in reading and writing at or above grade level. less than 20% of the students. Next slide. If you look at grades 9 to 12, again, I talked about the growth data versus the achievement data, how students ended the year coming into this current year, 24-25. If you look at that top bar, you will see the red, which is not movement, right? But if you look at the blue, green, yellow, and you put those together, you're looking at how much growth over time. If you look at that second bar, you're looking at, did the students actually meet their target? Next slide. This is the same for math, for grades 9 to 12. If you look at that top bar, again, looking at growth, the movement of students, and then that second bar, achievement. Did they actually meet the target? And so we know that we have a lot of work to do. You'll hear throughout the year the work that's being done at each of the individual schools. You'll also hear from our central office around the work that's being done. But the goal is to continue to accelerate and to move our students. Next slide. I wanted to address here high school physics because this has been a question, a concern from our community members, from our parents, our students, and so I wanted to make sure I'm sharing this information here. So all students who are registered in physics are in an online program through Pearson across the district. This includes instruction that is primarily synchronous with some opportunity for asynchronous. There is a Pennsylvania certified teacher assigned to help students. And students are able to ask for one-on-one assistance if they need it in this course. Next slide. So if you have additional questions about this particular course, I encourage you to reach out to the high school principals at Chester High and STEM. I wanted to put the numbers here so that you can see the number of students who are actually taking physics at this time. At Chester High School, there's 13 students in an honors program, and there's 9 students in the regular physics program. If you take a look at STEM, between 3 classes in the regular physics class, there are 68 students. And each of these classes are supported by a teacher facilitating. Next slide. So before I move on to this, one of the things I wanted to share around the physics course, so the next step in this physics course is for there to be an observation of these classrooms and for us to have an opportunity to actually get feedback from students. We've had an opportunity to hear a lot from the adults who may have a concern around our physics course, but our next step is to actually talk to our students and look at what we may do next to support our students. College and career information. There are several ways that this information is being shared, and I encourage you to please use our different platforms to look at this information for students. If you see in bold, it says, please open. When the newsletters come, we ask that you please open those newsletters to actually look at the information, because the district is able to see when those emails are not even open. And so we're just asking that you open the information that's being sent to you and review it and ask questions accordingly. Next slide. Our 21st century after school program. So there's been a lot of questions around this because of when it is starting. So I wanted to share the process around this. So for our 21st century program, we received notification as a district that we were being awarded on September 27th. Guidance from PDE is that hiring of staff and posting of RFPs could not happen until we received our official notification. When we received the official notification, then we began to go through the process of the RFPs and posting the positions. What you'll see tonight in our receivers meeting on the agenda is those positions and those programs being presented to the receiver for approval. And so we're excited to start on November 4th, but this has been the process. Notification was September 27th. Next slide. Both staff and vendors were selected and approved, as I shared, and again, November 4th is when we will start. Next slide. Upcoming events, next slide, thank you. So this is just a reminder, Friday, November 4th is the end of the first marking quarter. Please make sure you're reviewing the progress of your students, asking any questions, but at the same time, celebrating students for their accomplishments. Next slide. Upcoming dates, there's just a few dates here for you. So there's staff in service, no students on November 5th, a half day November 13th, and no school November 26th. Next slide. Some highlights. Next slide. For the month of October, we celebrate our principals for National Principals Month, and I would like to give our school leaders a hand for the work that they do. Next slide. We also would like to celebrate today our staff members of the month for September, and it looks like we have some of them in the room today. So congratulations to our next slide. So our fall sports, these are just some photos of senior day ceremonies for our seniors. Next slide. Congratulations to our cross-country team being the Del Val League champions. Next slide. Congratulations to our football team earning Del Val's league champion title. 22, 23, and 24. Congratulations. Next slide. And we closed out Hispanic Heritage Month. These are just some photos of that, and it was also featured on NBC 10 News. So please look at that video. Next slide. We had we started our annual coat drive today, and thank you to all of the staff members who worked with Ms. Claudia Everett, our Chief of Staff, to make this happen today. You are greatly appreciated for volunteering your time to support and making that happen. Next slide. These are just some additional upcoming events. I've highlighted a few of those for you. Next slide. Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. And again, I want to take another opportunity to recognize our principals and building leaders, our vice principals for the hard work and dedication that they provide for our students each and every day. Our employees of the month, you guys are awesome. We appreciate you as well. To our football team and cross-country team, we're behind you 110%. Thank you for all the work that you do to make Chester Upland Athletic Department look good. As Coach Bell does it with you. You can laugh to that. Next, we'll have our student rep report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jamil Geddes. I am the student representative for Chester High School. And here I have a few slides. Next slide. So this year we started Ninth Grade Academy again. So basically what Ninth Grade Academy is when our incoming freshmen have the opportunity to basically stay just mainly on the second floor to build a sense of community and culture. That's a big thing that we wanted to build because our problem was our ninth graders were roaming the building and they didn't, later on in their high school career, they kind of slipped. So we wanted to focus on building culture with the teachers, positive culture, the climate between the teacher and the students. Next slide. This is kind of some of the artwork that we have on the second floor for our ninth graders to read as they're coming into the building. Just some positive words of inspiration. So we have happiness, appreciation, smile, inspire, research, friendliness, kindness, laugh, collaborate, think, and hope, and creativity. All right, next slide. Also, these are our PBIS expectations that we have in the hallway. There are also different ones that we have the hallway, the cafeteria, the classrooms. So these are our expectations for the hallway. So basically, we started a new thing this year. If any of the students is present, respectful, determined, or engaged, they receive Clipper coins. And the Clipper coins go toward different incentives, such as in the month of September, we had a pretzel day. You had to have a total of 10. All staff in the building have access to distributing Clipper coins. Next slide. So just the other day, our 12th grade senior class had a collaboration with the Kamala Harris Foundation, basically teaching them how it is important for civic engagement, how it's important to vote, be engaged in the community, and then how important it is to, get out and help the city that you live in. Next slide. Like I spoke to tonight, the class of 2025 is presenting and hosting a movie night tonight at 7 p.m. in the Chester High Auditorium. But what's not on there is our 10th grade class is taking PSATs next week. Next slide. So, the slide is kind of blurred because it kind of expanded a little bit. So on October 9th, our seniors from Chester High School and STEM Academy visited Compton State and Morgan State, 2 HBCUs. They also had FAFSA workshops. And just October 22nd, they visited Lincoln University. And on Friday, October 25th, Williamson will be hosting a day of application. And tomorrow, is at the bottom. Tomorrow, Cheney will be hosting a open house. I'm honored to be selected to go on the Cheney tour. Next slide. This is our month of November. We will be visiting University of Pennsylvania. Also Widener University, and we will be also visiting Penn State, DSU, and we'll be hosting more FAFSA workshops. Next slide. Also, this is basically a picture of us ending our Hispanic Heritage Month. We did something every day to show our support for our Hispanic community. We had different candies as well for the last day. We had different types of food and a cafeteria. So that's my presentation. Thank you.
I take it we're not invited to movie night tonight.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much. That's great news. Happy to see that we are engaging our colleges and universities and that we're having those FAFSA nights, as they are very, very important. All right, Dr. Sutton, I always call on you presentations. Who do we have? He kind of gave me the look. He retired from that. Mr. Armour, I guess, what's the order? I don't know the order.
It's your already when you kick us off.
Okay, so we'll have our ESSER presentation.
Yes.
I always say I don't mind if you turn your back to us and speak to the audience.
Okay. This is gonna be good. That's it.
That's the core.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, tonight I will be doing a presentation for the ESSER, which is the American Rescue Plan Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. As we know, ESSER has been for the last 3 years, and we'll be closing out our ARP ESSER grant. You can go to the next slide. So our allocation for ARP ESSER was $19,533,038, and our allowability period was from March 13, 2020 to September 30th. During this allocation for the grant, we had to make sure that we allocated 20% of our grant to address learning loss. And those are some of the categories that we use to address learning loss. There were some other items, of course, but I'm just giving you the big categories. Next slide. Our ESSER addresses the areas of greatest impact district-wide. And again, it came out as a result of COVID. And we did learning loss categories. We did salaries and benefits for after school, summer, and digital program. Under health and wellness, we had the HVAC and windows, and we also had a roof project at CUSA. We had a playgrounds for ESA, Main Street, and for CUSA. And then also we had district-wide furniture initiative, and as well as technology. And we also did transportation for after school and summer programming. Under learning loss categories, these were two big items. For staff and benefits, under all those categories, we spent a little over $2 million. And for curriculum, we spent about $1.8 million. For health and wellness, again, we mentioned the categories for the HVAC, the windows, and the playgrounds. And these are just some pictures to show you some of our work. And that was our playground. We just got the black top done. So we're looking forward to our ribbon cuttings, and the students are looking forward to playing on those playgrounds. We spent about $9.8 million across the district at CUSA, Main Street, Chester High School, and also Toby Farmers was our major school that we did HVAC repairs, windows, and roof. Our district-wide furniture initiative, we were able to purchase classroom furniture for every single classroom. We also added some additional furniture for our Clippers Cafe just recently, so they can have new furniture there. And also, we were able to do chairs for all of our faculty members and some desks, and teachers' desks for every single teacher. And the playgrounds that we had, that number was about $1.25 million for the playgrounds. And then our cleaning services, we actually had a vendor that came out to support our custodian department and facilities that supported with cleaning during COVID, do COVID-related cleaning and heavy cleaning and high touch areas. Is also we had equipment ordered district-wide. So you'll be getting new vacuums, new brooms, new scrubbers. Some people probably already saw the scrubbers that we purchased with our that was an ESSER 2. So we have additional cleaning equipment as well. Next slide. We also had technology. We did a little under $1 million in technology. And that is helping us to keep our 1-to-1 ratio with our students. And our goal is to sustain that in the next coming school year as well. Transportation, we did about almost a little under $600,000 in transportation for after school programs and for summer programmings. Next slide. This is an actual slide to let you know what we have for ESSER 1. So ESSER 1's allocation that closed out December of 2022 was about $2.4 million. And then ESSER 2's allocation was about 9.6. What we will do is we will upload the documents from PDE for those two grants that were closed out, and you can see the exact expenditures that we actually had. And for our ESSER, we're in the process of obligating the funds. So what we have done is we've sorry, that's opposite. We've actually obligated all of our funds, and we're going to be liquidating, that's a typo, our assets by December 30th. So at this point, I don't have complete numbers because we're still in that process. But however, when we complete our final budget modification and actually obligate all those funds and complete our budget modification, I'll be able to share that as well. And then under the ARP ESSER allocation, also the ESSER 7% falls ARP ESSER. We'll be able to show you that breakdown. As you can see, I did show you the breakdown for after school, summer, and for learning loss on that grant, but you'll be able to see the final numbers as well. Next slide. Again, this is a resource that you can go to on PDE if you click on the hyperlink, and we'll be able to share this presentation with you after I make that one adjustment for obligation and liquidation. And this is my presentation for ARP ESSER.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I commend you and your team for your hard work throughout this process, your patience, your patience. I just have to say that. You guys were very, very patient. It was a tedious experience and process, but we are to the finish line. So we're happy. Our buildings look great. I'm happy that our teachers have the furniture, our students have the furniture. You know, the playgrounds look awesome. and we're not gonna stop this because Esther's going there. We're really trying to budget accordingly so that we can continue our capital projects because the district still needs many upgrades and we're not done yet. So I wanna make that public statement and commitment, and again, thank you. So next, we will move on to our mental health services. Dr. Wilson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I want to spend a little time tonight just talking about some of the mental health supports that are within the district. And so just please understand this does not encompass all of the supports. There are other partnerships that we are continuing to pursue. We do expect for those partnerships to be a topic of discussion at future receivers meetings, but this is some of the supports that we already have in place. So just before I talk about the specific supports, I do want to talk a little bit about the process to understand how intentional as a group we have been around mental health supports. So one of the steps in the process is that we completed what is called the SHAPE, which stands for School Health Assessment and Performance Evaluation System. So what that essentially means is that we took the time to conduct a needs assessment that involved the specific students that we serve, the data systems that we use, the staff and personnel that we have, and then also what do those supports and services look like at each of the school buildings at a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 level. So that was part of the process. The second part of the process was, next slide, that we also analyzed the PACE survey data. The most recent one just came out, but it provides a lot of information for the district around, again, the well-being of our students in areas such as grief and trauma and depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and just a tremendous number of categories that are really important for us to get information regarding where our students may be struggling and also areas where our students might also be doing well. Next slide. So with that being said, we pursued several partnerships, one of which is through CHOP. There is a school health, mental health collaborative that several of our schools are participating in that involves opportunities for discussion in terms of best practices around mental health. So our counselors and social workers at several of our buildings are able to participate in that collaborative. I participate in the advisory group regarding that specific initiative. So it also involves a series of workshops that will be taking place over the course of the next few months that are open for parents, open for educators, and it provides opportunities just throughout the county to really be able to talk about what's happening, what's working well, and where we might need additional support. We also have a partnership with the Lincoln Center. I'll talk more about some examples and some outcomes from that partnership in a few moments. Partnerships with Eastern University has provided interns throughout the district. I'll talk more about that in a moment as well. And of course, partnership with the DCIU in terms of allowing us the opportunity to collaborate with other districts throughout the county. So just at a high level, there are several grants that we are utilizing in order to support the work around mental health support. So one in particular is the BSCA grant, which is the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act grant. That allows some specific areas that we are able to target. So one is looking at students' overall well-being, making sure that the grant activities are focused on how we're making sure students are doing better as a result of the efforts of the district. And then second is around parent engagement or family engagement. So you can see there by the information that's in the second column, there are several positions that we've purchased out of that grant. So that includes licensed social workers, that also includes bachelor level social workers as well, and 2 family engagement specialists. So you can see the specific schools that we've identified, which are mostly our middle and high schools, to provide those support. Those personnel are currently in school buildings that are working along with principals and our existing counselors and social workers to provide different layers of support. In the last column, it talks about the responsibilities. Our goal is to make sure that everything goes through the multi-tier systems of school support, which is the MTSS process. So in other words, we want to make sure that we're really targeted, that there are intervention plans that are created, and that those intervention plans are also documented and updated over time so that we can see the progress of our students. Those individuals are also using specific research-based curriculum, such as the SPARK initiative, which really looks at ways to produce self-confidence in students and also self-advocacy skills as well. And so the particular individuals that we've hired as a result of that were in conjunction with the Lincoln Center. They provide training around specific therapeutic approaches, and we also have linked them with additional trainings to support their work. Next slide. A second grant that we have is the PCCD grant, which is through the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. Specifically, this is a grant that we utilized last year as well. It provides an opportunity to use the information from that needs assessment to identify personnel that will be beneficial to our student body that we may not otherwise be able to purchase. So last year, we started that work with an art therapist. We have a different art therapist this year, but we've also expanded the number of schools that individual is supporting. So essentially, that person supports each school, 5 schools, 1 day a week. And so we're looking forward in the spring of being able to allow that person to also support our elementary buildings as well. But we wanted to start with our high schools and also our middle schools first. And again, similar to the other positions, their process is documented in the MTSS process in Panorama, which is our MTSS platform. So we're able to document the intervention plans that have been created. Next slide. Lastly, we have a substance abuse reduction grant, which involves a substance abuse counselor that supports currently our 2 high schools, so both Chester High School and STEM 1 day a week. That individual is able to both be reactive, so if a student presents in school with an issue, then that person can be referred to the substance abuse counselor, and also proactive, so the students are able to self-identify if they would like support from that person. Parents can reach out as well to solicit that support as well. Our goal is for the individual to provide tier 1 support in terms of in classrooms, being able to talk about the danger of substance misuse, but then also at a tier 2 and tier 3 level to also be able to provide group and individualized support as well. Next slide. And so I think it's really important to take a couple moments to look at some of the staff that are in each of the buildings that are able to provide mental health supports to students. You can see, for instance, this is at Chester High School. There are several staff members from counselors, which of course primarily provide tier 1 supports to students, to social workers, which typically will provide tier 3 supports. Some of the other specific individuals I've mentioned, which includes licensed social workers, art therapists, substance abuse counselor, family engagement specialists, interns, social emotional learning coaches as well. But in our high school, Chester High School, these are some of the folks that are available to support our students directly. Next slide. Similarly, at STEM, there are very similar supports as well. The names of each of these individuals, these persons again are a vital part of the school community. They report directly to the principal and building leadership. But then I also support them both in terms of onboarding to make sure they can access our systems, as well as to support them around implementation of MTSS and the use of Panorama to ensure that we're documenting those support. I'm going to have you go through the next few slides. If you can just take a quick moment to go through each one. Just so you can see at each of our schools, we've identified the supports that are available. There were a couple of vacancies. If you can go back to the elementary slide, thank you. There were a couple of vacancies for school counselor positions at 2 of our buildings. That's because this year we added school counselors throughout the district at every school. At least one of those has certainly been filled, and that person will be starting on Monday. But I did not put that person until it's board approved, so I wanted to make sure that that person will be added later, and we're waiting for the last position to be filled through confirmation. Next slide. Just at a high view, so as we talk about the mental health supports that have been provided to students throughout our district, I think it's important to acknowledge that we have currently 211 students who are receiving tier 2 supports through those various grants that I just mentioned. So what that means is that there are documented intervention plans for those students. There's progress monitoring regarding those plans as well. And the team is able to decide if the student needs a higher level of support. So that's what you can see with the triangle or the tiered approach. On the second side, you're able to see that in our platform panorama, our staff, when they create an intervention plan, are able to utilize research-based strategies to support students. So that's in what's called the playbook, which is within Panorama. So some strategies staff already know, and of course they've been using for years, but if there's a strategy that they might want to try or that they would like to use for the first time, they're able to look in the playbook, see exactly what to do with the strategy, how to introduce that with students, how to document the outcome of that strategy, and they're able to utilize that as a resource. Next slide. And so what I also want to take a couple moments to acknowledge is that over the course of the next week, we will be posting and sharing out via various sources as well the direct contact information for all of the personnel individuals that I mentioned. So this is just an example of what that would look like for Chester High School, so that students and staff, parents as well, will be clear on who the personnel for each building are, as well as how to contact them in terms of their email address, what their availability is. So some staff are there for specific days, and then which students they serve, because that's important as well. And so we have created this for each of the school buildings so that staff and also students and parents can be aware of how to reach out to these different supports. Next slide. There we go. Thank you. And so lastly, I want to say that in keeping with utilizing data and research-based practices, we are launching a student and staff survey that will start tomorrow. It will run through November the 5th. The goal of those surveys is to provide information regarding the mental health well-being of our students, as well as information regarding their sense of belonging, their perception of their own competency. So in other words, how well they feel that they're doing in school in terms of their effort. So there's some core areas that we're really targeting in terms of that survey. So that's taking place tomorrow for students, or starting tomorrow in their homeroom or their ELA class. And so information has been sent to principals in terms of how to access that survey. It'll be via their student ID number, but that's how they'll access the survey. Simultaneously, we're also conducting a survey, as I mentioned, of teachers and staff in the same areas, again, to provide us some meaningful information so that we can better support them as they support our students. That ends our presentation in terms of student mental health support, but again, there are a lot of other things that will be mentioned in the coming weeks as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. A lot of great information, again, on our website. It looks like now we have our STEM, Mr. Brown, Principal Brown, and VP Scroll. Or is it just?
Support Network. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present STEM to you. Let's say that I'm Ron Brown, the principal at STEM, and my assistant principal is Ms. Megan Scrow. Next slide. Tonight's presentation, we want to talk about some academic growth. We talk about student achievement highlights, some challenges, strategies, and goals that we plan to implement at STEM. Just a few highlights. As you can read them, I won't read every one, but the most significant one is right now at 93%, our 11th grade students have completed Naviance, which is artifacts that they put in to the system to track college and career readiness. Also, we have 18 students that are actively participating and working with Ms. Arnold for the Gates Scholarship. We have 2 of our students that were a part of the cross-country Del Val Championship, and also host the football players that also were that are a part of our Del Val title team. We have student-led senior sunrise service. So we had a tragedy. We discussed it with our student body president to turn that tragedy into something positive and more uplifting. The student is deceased to gun violence, and we found a way so that we could bring the students together to positively set a memorial for him and start a legacy instead of retaliation and violence. The Senior Sunrise was led by the students. They organized it. They had candles to represent stopping the violence, gun violence among high school age students, and they left hot air balloons off to represent the memorial of their fallen classmate. Next slide. These are some pictures of what we do at STEM, some of the involvement of our students, some acknowledgments that we talked about in the previous slide. Next slide. Our student goals to increase proficiency in ELA, math, and across the board. Also, that we're using supplemental resources and incorporating two new supplemental resources, which is IXL, it's an online program, as well as small group instruction, which we're being supported by the DCIU to help our teachers initiate small group instruction with Fidelity. And also to increase our student attendance, which is one of our CSI goals. Next slide. So the students are academic and technical vocabulary. So we want the students to not only have a skill set, but be able to acknowledge what that skill set represents by using that vocabulary and being able to implement that vocabulary. With the assistance of Ms. Arnold, she's helping our students write better and to understand the significance of writing and how to present themselves on paper. For our math, we're using IXL, a small group instruction, as stated earlier, to demonstrate growth as well as academic achievement. Next slide. Building growth. Again, we talked about our standardized vocabulary instruction, increasing fluency and providing our students with intervention in math. We have in our algebra class, we have an algebra class, and then we also have a foundations class that support the basic skills where our students are showing the most efficiency. Next slide. That's it. All right. So some other highlights that we didn't add to the slide, we had to submit our slide deck, is that we have students who are going to Lincoln University to be a part of the Black Youth Suicide Awareness Program, which is very important because a lot of our students experience trauma and they'll be learning how to deal with that trauma in a different kind of way other than suicide. And we also have partnerships that we're connecting with to provide our students with extended opportunities, learning opportunities outside the classroom through commercial industry and other entities, organizations that are willing to support them beyond high school with possible career opportunities. It is my presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, President Brown. Great things happening at STEM. We keep up the good work. That ends our presentations. Yes. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the approval of minutes. At this time, I hereby approve the minutes from the previous meeting of September 26, 2024. The minutes of our previous meeting held on September 26, 2024 are hereby approved. We will now have public comment on action items only. Please step to the microphone. Ms. A. Jane Arnold, 2601 McCary Street.
I don't have any questions on agenda items.
Okay, thank you much. All right, moving right on to the approval of our agenda items. At this time, under our education agenda, agenda items A1 through A36 are approved. Agenda items A1 through A36 are hereby approved. Moving on to our personnel agenda. Personnel agenda items B1 through B3 are approved. Agenda items under our personnel agenda B1 through B3 are hereby approved. Moving on to our business agenda. Business agenda items C1 through C14 are approved. Business items C1 through C14 are hereby approved. We will now move on to public comment at this time. When I call your name, please step to the podium, state your address for the record. You have 3 minutes, and we will respond within 3 business days. Ms. Denise Mosley, folio number 491101700300.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First question went to the superintendent's presentation. You mentioned that K through 8 through iReady data had less than 20% I believe, at or above grade level. Could you also give me the percentage for 9th through 12th? What is the percentage at or above grade level, each for STEM and for Chester High School? If you have that data tonight, you can give it to me after the meeting. If not, it can be sent to me. I also am requesting a job description. It could be emailed to me for the diversity, equity, and inclusion position that was created. I would like to see the job description for that. Also, there was a lot mentioned about through ESSER, the improvements that were done. I'm just asking, do we also have a plan and a schedule in place through facilities to make sure that there is proper upkeep and maintenance so we don't have issues 5 to 10 years from now on things that we've paid millions of dollars for? And my last question is, I don't know if any locker rooms or the A-Field locker room were included in any of the ESSER projects, but if not, are they on a list for capital projects at some point? Did I make it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mosley, I will say for the record, the locker rooms and the cheerleading room and bathrooms were a part of the capital borrowing that we did.
Okay,
So they are underway right now. The bathrooms are all, I want to say 95% complete district-wide. The locker rooms are probably at 90% complete. And they just started the cheerleading room maybe a week or so ago. So that was under capital, the borrowing that we did.
okay, so it just won't be reported with ESSER. I'm sorry, I did also have one other question. Is the receiver and superintendent advisory board still in existence?
It is going to be kicked back off again, just for the record. We were asked by PD to hold off until the recovery plan was adopted, but we are now required to start having those meetings again, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Ms. A. Jane Arnold, 2601 McCary Street.
Thank you so very much. A few items. Anyone now can go to City Hall and vote. You have to do that by 4 o'clock. And so I know that some of our students have registered to vote, and I would like to make this known for us publicly so that maybe some of our students, when they finish high school, their day here at school, can go over to City Hall and vote early if they choose to. That would eliminate them trying to figure out where their precinct is. I would still like to put a call out for us to replace the portico at Toby Farms. I know we're getting amounts of capital here and there to
Replace the what, Ms. Arnold? I didn't-
that little covering, the portico at Toby Farms. There used to be a little covering there.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, we worked on the roof some years ago, and when we did that, we did not replace that part of their structure. I would like to say thank you again for the work that's being done at the upstairs for the football team's locker room. I will continue to ask someone to help me see that space as we make progress, because I'm concerned about those other conditions that we haven't yet worked on. Thank you for that. Can you please, sir, post the organizational chart as soon as possible? I was very thrilled to see that Dr. Mumine posted it or used it in one of her presentations some time ago, but we still, I think, need that to be made public. And when we had the presentation for Chester High, one of those slides that we looked at, it was a beautiful piece of artwork, but there's a hole there in the building. So it needs some patching. You couldn't see, they've done some beautiful painting over it, but if we could have someone come up and pay attention to patch that hole for us.
Where exactly is it, Ms. Arnold?
I think it might be on the 3rd floor where the 9th graders are. He had a slide earlier today.
Oh,
But
Oh, you
you
were
couldn't
referring
see
to
it, yes, to the bottom right-hand corner, there's a hole there, but the beautiful painting camouflages it a good bit, so please help the students repair that. Now, I have a big thank you for community, because I would like for all of the students here from Widener to stand. These are young people who want to teach in urban schools. And the program at Stetzer allows them to do that. And so they heard about the Get Out the Vote campaign that we do every year for major elections. If you look
around Chester, you will see these white signs that say vote in black letters. Well, their students did that work, and I'm so tickled because they did that. Not only did they do the work, but then someone from Unit 413 came, picked those up, and we went around town and put them in the ground. So, community happened between Widener, Stepser, Union 413, and I'm so tickled. So everybody get out and vote.
Again, thank you so much, Ms. Arnold, for that. And again, we welcome and thank the Widener students for their collaboration with Stetford Elementary and Local 413. Dr. Plessa can be recruiting soon. I know that you guys have some requirements to fulfill, but keep Dr. Plessa in mind and Chester Upland, as we are always recruiting good educators in our school district. All right, with that, there are no more public comments. Oh, Ms. Mosley, I can't see that far back.
I didn't know how many people signed up, so I didn't want to exceed my 3 minutes. But I did want to publicly say, yesterday we had a meeting for Parent University. It was like a kickoff meeting. And at the end of our meeting, Dr. Sutton did come in, and he spent some time just introducing himself to everybody in the room and going over what his role and some of his responsibilities were. And I just wanted to publicly say, Dr. Sutton, thank you so much for doing that and for the work that you and your team are doing, and just for your transparency to say, you know, what the challenges are, but what you and the people that are working with you on your designated areas are doing. And I want you to know that I appreciate the effort and the sacrifice that you're making, and I look forward for, to see continued progress moving forward. My area is early childhood, so if there's anything that I can do to help, please let me know. I will lend my support. But I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mosley. For the last couple of weeks, I've been joking with Dr. Sutton about being an employee of the month, and he always waves me off and runs down the hallway. So, employee of the month. Thank you. He must have waved again. With that being said, I would like to thank you all for coming out to this meeting. We look forward to seeing you at the upcoming events that we'll be having in the near future. Be safe. It's getting dark a little early, so drive safe. Good night. This meeting's adjourned.